Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the KartSim Champions of the Future Esports UK Series. You join us here for round number 1 from PF International. What a legendary kart circuit this is, and it is the host of a legendary esports racing series as we kick it off tonight. My name is John Ratcliffe. I'm going to be guiding you through all of the action here for round number 1 of the UK Series. Now, some personal housekeeping as the drivers head out on circuit. As you can probably tell already, my voice isn't the best this evening, but thankfully I have got a knight in shining armour who's flown into the commentary box to join me once again. Good evening, Mr. Josh Irvin.
Good evening, John. Well, I can take over a little bit more today, hopefully. Well, no, it's going to be a very interesting race. It's a new championship, which means it's a new chance for people to be at the front, to really push for it, but also to conserve themselves and think about a championship. It's obviously we've already got the EU and International Championship, which we've had, I believe, 2 rounds each.
I think it is 1 for the International Series. Yeah, 1 round done of International Series, 2 done for the Euro Series.
So, we're quite experienced now in KartSim Esports. We're at a point of the year where all these drivers, we've seen most of their faces, we know what they're capable of, but it's a new track, it's a new championship. It all goes up in the air again.
It does. It does. It's going to be a very exciting evening of racing, ladies and gentlemen. We'll take you through the permutations from pre-qualifying in a few moments. But you join us here at PF International. You can now ignore that that graphic on your screen. That sadly has changed to now being incorrect. Not quite sure why, but we're definitely here at PFI. Don't you worry. What a circuit it is. Just outside of Grantham, this circuit, of course, created by Paul Fletcher, opening back in 1994, but it really became the legendary circuit that it is today back in 2011, of course, when they opened that bridge section. And I think you'll agree with me, Josh, there is no other section of a kart circuit that is quite so amazing as that bridge section at PFI.
No, it really is unique. There are other bridges at other tracks around the world, but they don't really come in the size comparison to the PFI bridge, and it's such an iconic piece of track, such a long flowing corners that puts you onto a back straight. So when it comes to tracks being technical, PF has a bit of everything. It really does. It has high speed, it has big brakes, big hairpins, and it has a long straight. So it really punishes you if you make mistakes. But we've seen in KartSim Esports how close these drivers can be. The top 10 being within a couple of attempts. So I think that's going to be the same for this.
100%. Yeah, I think there's going to be needing to be a little bit of working together this evening for the drivers to get a good result in round a circuit like this. As you say, long straights as we're seeing now down towards hairpin 1 and hairpin 2. So a lot of slipstream to be used on those part of the circuits as well to try and set up those overtakes. But crucially, it'll be getting the overtake done without then offsetting your exit and then causing other drivers to get involved as well. That's why we often see big pack racing at a circuit like this. And from a neutral perspective here in the commentary box, I'm very much hoping for that this evening. As I say, with the extension back in 2011, track going to 1,382 metres. An absolutely massive kart track this is, and a very, very long lap to keep everything together. So it'll be interesting to see who's able to hook up a lap when we jump into qualifying in a few moments. And of course, PFI, the only international A-grade licensed kart circuit in the UK.
It is, but the Silverstone track is now complete, so I believe that it's also the second international track.
I'm not sure if it's been given the official sign-off yet. I think they've built it to regs, but it's not got the sign-off. You probably know more than me, to be honest, Josh.
Not sure. I think you're correct. I think it is going to be one, though. We are looking forward to having the Silverstone track on the software, but also on the calendar for the big races as well this year. Yeah,
very much looking forward to it. Well, the PF International website at least still claims that they're the only one. So for now, until they update that now with Kart Silverstone, we'll stick with it for the moment. And of course, this circuit hosts massive karting events. Of course, Kart Masters in the UK, and of course the FIA World Karting Championship as well. Massive events that are held at this circuit, but none bigger than the KartSim Champions of the Future Esports Series. We kick off the season, of course, here for the UK Series, and as Josh was saying, times very close amongst all of the Euro Series, the International Series we had so far this season. It's all been very close, but the pre-qualifying for today's event is ridiculous. So just looking back on that, Timmy Rupen, your fastest pre-qualifying driver, then it was 0.06 of a second separating the top 3 drivers. Warwick Milam and Alexis Genelay have been battling so well, but they were identical on pre-qualifying times. That's surely going to make the racing very exciting this evening. Right then, as we press on with this practice session, we're just going to go to a very quick break. Stick with us. We'll be back in a couple of moments. Well, welcome back, everyone. Apologies there. A little brief issue with our timing, but we've got it all sorted, and drivers continuing to head on round then in this practice session. Yes, to continue covering here the kicking off of the UK series. Of course, same as we've seen for the Euro Series and International Series this evening. 15 minutes now for the drivers to get some practice in and get themselves ready for the racing action. Then it'll be 10 minutes of qualifying, which around a very long circuit like this isn't a whole lot of laps to get times in. And then, of course, into a 12-lap race to see who leads the championship after round number 1.
It's going to be very interesting. We can see in practice already, they're only a couple minutes in, but the top Warwick, again, clear by 0.2. That's becoming the norm, unfortunately, and, well, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on what side you are.
Depending if you're Warwick Milam or not.
Depending if you're Warwick and his parents. But it's between second and 8th again. Again, it's only 0.3 between them, so it's really close. We have a couple of new drivers as well today, John, don't we?
We do indeed, yeah. A couple of new names that you'll notice on the timing tower, which we will go through as we continue to press on through these sessions. But as Josh says, the usual names up near the sharp end. Good to see Alex Zicki back once again. He was super fast the last time out that we saw him in KartSim Esports. And he's done well on pre-qualifying as well. Was up in P4 in pre-qualifying. Funny enough, the top 4 in pre-qualifying are also the top 4 here in practice at the moment. Only difference was it was Timmy Rupen who was your fastest in pre-qualifying, as I say, by 0.06 of a second. At the moment, he sits there in 3rd place. That ultimate time in pre-qualifying was a 55.685. So we're only just less than 0.2 off at the moment.
Well, as the track progresses over the weekend as well, we are going to hit that 55.6. I mean, we've had a week to do it, and all of a sudden in 3 minutes of practice, they're already up to it. So you can just tell how much practice and how much dedication these drivers have. The top 10 split by 0.6. They're really all going for it. They've all done hundreds of laps around this track. They must know it like the back of their hand.
You'd like to think so. Let's see if drivers can replicate that when the pressure's on, and who is able to grab pole position for the first ever UK Series round. Now, I know we sound like a bit of a broken record continuously talking about Mr. Warwick Milam. I'm sure he's not going to be unhappy with that, but that's what you get when you dominate so much in a series. He's been unstoppable so far in 2026. We've not had a race this year where Warwick Milam hasn't won on the road. Of course, he had that jump start. That was a couple of races ago. That was round number 1 of the Euro Series. That 10-second jump start penalty dropped him down to P6 when all was said and done. So in the Euro Series, Alexis Genelay with a first and a second, currently leading the championship in that one. Warwick Milam leading in the International Series, and of course he won the Esports Cup earlier this year as well. So I think only thought for Warwick Milam this evening is to try and lead yet another Esports Series.
Not only that, but the points are very, very ruthless at KartSim Esports. They are 75 and then down by 3 each position, and Warwick Milam gets through on Eden Kasarovic. Sorry for my pronunciation. I'll leave John to a pronunciation of that one. Warwick Milam gets through. He's going for another push lap. Warwick, he seems to do this one push pit, one push pit, which for me is very strange, because I know in KartSim that it does take a little while for you to get the tyres in, so maybe Warwick is just a tyre whisperer and you can really get them on, as Eden takes a lot of curve through again, but makes it work anyways.
Well, I think what I need to see is some meme of a snake charmer where there's a tyre coming up and out of the bag and it's Warwick Milam just playing this little flute.
Well, you're the expert of memes here at KartSim, John, so I'm sure you can work your magic there.
I wouldn't go that far, mate. I'm not that funny. Let's the team downstairs are way funnier than me. They do a great job, everyone here, marketing within KartSim. But as Miguel has kindly told me in my ear, let's have a little look at the calendar for the rest of the season. Of course, plenty more rounds across the Euro and International Series as well. But here we're just going to focus on the UK Series. Of course, PF to kick off the season tonight. Then we have a double header at Lark Hall. Of course, it was supposed to be Silverstone, but Lark Hall being drafted in to fill the space. So round 2, Lark Hall on the 3rd of June. Round 3, back to Lark Hall on the 17th of June. So a couple of weeks between that. That should make that second round at Lark Hall really exciting, with they're all very experienced at the circuit. And then finalising the season down at Wilton Mill, round number 4, then on the 29th of July. That's when that one all finishes up. And then here, thank you very much, Miguel, shows us the full season then. So many different tracks that we're visiting. And of course, you can get involved as well. It is not too late. You just need to go out and purchase, head over to the KartSim website and purchase the Champions of the Future pack. You can purchase that off of the website, and that basically acts as your entry to the event. However, you do still need to find some pace though, because only the top 30 fastest drivers pre-qualify for each event. And for every single event so far this season, we've had so many people trying to get times in, haven't we? Oh,
we've had hundreds of people register for our service, and you can see how many people have registered purely by how close the top 30 are. Again, top 10 within half a second. It's something that you already see at sort of at karting levels, but it's even maybe the international levels. That half a second of the top 10 is very close, especially around such a long, winding technical track like PFI.
Exactly that, and drivers finding a bit more time as well as we close into the end of this practice session. Top 3 now within a tenth of a second. 0.093 between Milam, Genelay and Rupen in the top 3. Amazing to see, but of course, times in practice mean absolutely nothing. This is just a good bit of time for the drivers to get those wheels turning and get themselves bedded back in for the exciting and serious sessions coming up in a few moments, of course. Oh, trying to thread the needle there to me, Ruben. That one's not going to work. Forces Henry Hales out wide there. Henry, a little bit wobbly, rejoining the black stuff, but he's been shoved out the way there by Tomeo. But of course, not only is this time to learn the circuit, it's also time to learn where you can make those moves stick. Well, the right-hander off the top of the bridge is always a bit of a sketchy one, I find.
Yeah, it's a very last lap of Kart Masters potentially if I want to kill the guy next to me. I've seen it happen done, but I've seen it also not go very successful. So all it takes is one person to turn in, and it's a bit of a carnage. But Henry Hales is now in that lovely position that is behind the fast driver, and he can probably push with his last 2 laps to bridge the little gap between himself and the top 3.
Indeed, yeah, finding a bit more time is Henry as he presses on to another lap of this practice session. Lovely onboard here from Henry as he takes us down through the iconic bridge section here at PF, the Litchfield Bridge Complex. Maybe a little bit too much curb there over the left, and then runs wide there out of the right as he's trying to carry as much speed as possible down towards hairpin 1. You're the right of hairpin 1, straight down to hairpin 2. It's all about carrying that speed, and once you're in a big pack of drivers as well, you basically need to have your head on a swivel trying to work out where drivers are going to go, left, right, and centre through that complex. Then down into the Fullerton S's. Really fast left, right there again, carrying as much speed as you can, but not taking too much curb as you then head through Bobby Game Corner, now into the Mike Wilson complex, and through the last couple of very fast, twitchy corners through to the end of the lap. Thank you, Henry, for taking us round that one as we continue to tick down to the end of this one. To remind you as well, lots of prizes on offer here in the UK series. A total prize value of over £5,000. The championship winner will be gaining a free entry to a Champions of the Future Academy race in 2027, or 25% off the full season. That includes brand new kart and engine, awning space, kart trolley and workbench, all the tyres and fuel you need, logistics and materials as well, plus a £1,000 KartSim voucher. What a prize for the championship winner. And don't worry, if you feel a little bit short, second and third get prizes as well. Runner-up, £500 voucher, and P3, a £250 voucher, both of those on the KartSim website. Well, there we go then. End of practice. Are we surprised to see Milam at the top? No. But it's good to see how close the rest of the drivers are as well. Saying that, though, Warwick did find a decent bit of time there in the last couple of laps.
Yeah, we're matching what we're doing in the pre-qualifying now, which is strong to see. But again, qualifying, you never know. It's all about getting the slipstream. I know the slipstream, with how long the straights are around this track, the slipstream's worth at least 3/10. So if Alexis or Timio or any other drivers can slot in behind Warwick or another of the top 5 drivers, they can really give Warwick a tough time.
Yeah, the only issue with following a driver around and trying to use their slipstream is then maybe going a bit too fast and getting held up by them. But this is again going to be a massive benefit because the whole field only split by about 1.5 seconds. So there's actually going to be quite a lot of drivers out there that are top fastest drivers that we would expect to be near the top can actually follow, and they shouldn't really get in the way across a long lap like this, would be my assumption.
No, you're absolutely right, John. But if you're trying to follow someone, you want to try and follow the quickest at the end of the day. So you never know. There's going to be, let's see the carnage as they come out the pits here for qualifying, but I can imagine they're all going to be like angry bees out at pits.
I thought you were going to say Angry Birds then, but I thought you were probably a bit too old for that game.
No, I love that game.
Oh, good, glad to hear it. Cheeky bit of cut the rope. Well, I'm going off on a tangent. Right, let's go then for... Let's go for qualifying then, of course. 10 minutes on the clock once again. As Josh says, they will all file out the pit lane like an angry swarm of wasps, and that's exactly what we see on your screens. Then they head out for 10 minutes, and already Luxicki's getting a bit too excited. Same with Tubal. Straight over the grass out of pit lane as they try and find the right bit of tarmac that they want to take up, and we'll see who each driver decides that they want to work with here. I think there's going to be a lot of tactics over this qualifying session, and I'll be interested to see whether the likes of Milam does do his usual pitting in shenanigans, because of course that's going to waste him a lot of time, but if it works for his strategy, then it works. And if it does work, will we then see Janelle, Rupen, Luxicki trying to copy that strategy as well?
Well, Warwick's going for his clean air strategy that he always goes for, so he's given the rest of the bunch about half a lap to figure themselves out and get into a rhythm, and he's behind Hayden Taylor at the moment, but I can imagine in front of Hayden Taylor there's a massive gap, and he's going to try and close that gap. But after this lap, I imagine he's going to try and overtake Hayden as quick as he can, or if he can't, give a bit of gap to Ethan Miller behind.
Indeed. Well, he thinks he's going to give a weight, isn't he? Yep. Has a little weight then down at hairpin number 2 and tries to find himself a little bit of track space. Right then, our first few drivers head on to their first flying laps of the session. At the moment, Genelay still in the pit lane. A little bit odd then as to why Alexis hasn't come straight out. There you go. He does come out now. So a little bit of time lost there for Alexis, and he's now got a whole lap to try and bed himself in and get some laps on the board. Well, I knew drivers would be following each other and using the slipstream, but these drivers look very close together. 5 or 6 of them there, all in a train.
Yeah, they're going to sort of space for themselves out. I think a lot of them are still fighting for track position behind another driver. But Alexis, I think those sort of top 10 drivers, they've done so many laps that they might not need the full 10 minutes to set lap time. I know, especially in Europe, we used to go out for qualifying with like 3.5 minutes on the clock, because the track would progress and you'd only get such a peak on a set of tyres as well.
The classic F1 strategy. Try and get a lap in, go back in, wait for a bit, and then when the track is absolutely perfect, you head out and try and get those timings just right. Isaac Jameson there in the background having a bit of a glancing blow with the wall on the outside of the final corner. and things change. What are you trying to point to me?
I'm looking at the top 4 before Joshua Bailey just set an absolutely blistering lap. Split by 0.7 of a tenth.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Very close already in this one, but as you say, time's continuing to tumble. Joshua Bailey goes fastest for the moment, 56.2. So what are we? About 0.6 off of ultimate pace and pre-qualifying, and we got within about half a tenth there in practice, so the times are going to come, ladies and gentlemen. It's just who can grab them at the right time. Isaac Morgan third, then Tabea Rupin second, Brian Bennerins in fourth, and not surprising to see there, Bao close behind, Bailey close behind. All of the top 5 are all here in a train. That's not going to help though, chucking each other off to the scenery. They're going to lose a whole nother lap. They've now got in the way of a couple of other drivers. That was a little bit clumsy.
Clumsy, but also just not something you need to see in qualifying. It's not, or even in a race, to be completely honest. So I think they need to find a space, and we need to have a healthy gap to chase into. There's no point being on the bum of a guy in front, because you're never going to be quicker than him if you're right behind him. So, but just want to touch on Warwick Milam was purple on that lap, but I think he got a cut track penalty or a disallowed lap in the last sector because it didn't actually register in the time.
No, yeah, something's definitely happened, hasn't it? Yep, spotted that as well. 2 purple sectors from Milam, unsurprisingly so. But yeah, something's happened there, and he's not been able to properly set that lap time. Well, someone that has is Alexis Genelay. Goes fastest there on his first proper lap around this PF International circuit. Goes just over half a tenth of a second quicker than Bailey, but that is not the kind of margin where Alexis can start to relax. He went 6,000ths quicker in sector number 1, but he's lost just over a tenth in sector 2. He needs to find more time here in sector 3 to try and extend that margin, but Milam wasn't too far away around him either. He might just find a bit of time. Same for Joshua Bailey. Well, across the line he goes. He does find almost a tenth in the final sector, but still not enough to offset that slightly slower sector 2.
Well, let's see what Warwick gets out. Warwick's actually on an outlap, so he must have bailed after his first push up. So he really does. No matter how he does, he just goes out, push in, and that works for him, I believe. 5 minutes left, so he only has about 2 or 3 more attempts. I believe 2 more attempts after this lap.
Yeah, it's not a whole lot of time, is it? Well, he's gone green in sector number 1, but of course the colour he wants to see is purple, and what he doesn't want to see there is the green of the grass on the outside of the circuit. That's not going to help with ultimate lap time. Of course, last year, the KartSim British Esports Championship, Milam, very, very quick, but that win eluded him. A couple of pole positions, but couldn't quite get to the top step of the podium. Well, he absolutely proved himself at the start of this year, taking a number of wins so far this season. Well, he wants to put another win against his name here at PF International for round 1 of the KartSim Champions of the Future UK Series. First time on the board for Milam is going to pop him 3rd place on the grid. 2 tenths off a provisional pole, still held by Genelay. Rupin's up to P2. Good lap from him. Milam there, purple sector 3. Still needs to find a bit more in sector 1 and 2.
Not even sector 1 too much. It was more sector 2. He lost 2.5 tenths. But Alexis, again, is he doing the same sort of strategy? He's coming to the pits after his push-up. He's going out for another one. 4 minutes left on the clock, so that should be, by my terrible calculations, two laps left for all these drivers. 2 push laps for these people that are coming back into the pits.
Of course, Genelay and Milam have been absolutely inseparable throughout 2026 so far. So you can understand the smallest margins are what are turning around these championships. You can understand that Alexis is watching what Warwick's doing very, very carefully. And if his strategy is working for Warwick, might as well use it yourself, thinks Alexis. And for the moment, working for him, but not longer. To P1 goes Warwick Milam by only just over 1/100th of a second. This is going to be so close here as to who grabs pole position. Well, Genelay about to head onto another lap then, and by your guesstimate, I think we have maybe 1 more push lap for Milam.
Potentially 2, actually.
Potentially 2.
Top 7 again, split by only 3 tenths, and it could be anyone's here. All it is 1 lap, 55.7, so we still know there is about another tenth in it when it comes to ultimate lap time that we've seen in the pre-qualifier and also in practice. I believe they're about, I think they did exactly the same time.
Yeah, it was about, it was like half the 100th or so. It was very close.
Very, very close in KartSim Esports. But let's see if Alexis can fight back, because this first sector goes yellow. But we do know that Alexis does have that strong middle sector, and as I said, strong middle sector, he goes purple in sector number 2 by a whole 10th.
Yeah, he's found a bit of time there, hasn't he? Because he's beating those previous times set. We can't see whether that's against Milam's or Genelay's time. We can assume it'll be Milam's. Of course, he was a little bit slow first time of asking through sector number 2, but he found a bit more on that second lap. What's the sector 3 looking like for Genelay? It's not fast enough. He doesn't put that lap time down. He continues on, stays there in second place. Exiki currently third. Bailey currently fourth. Again, great to have both of those two back. Of course, those two had some cracking battles in the cadet class last year in the KartSim British Esports Championship. Of course, those two moving into senior categories now. Of course, we only have the one senior category here in Champions of the Future Esports. Both of them taking to these senior karts very well, especially for being such young drivers.
There's a lot of drivers on the grid that are very, very young in age. Henry Hales, I believe, is also 8 years old. So for him to step up into Champions of the Future Esports is a very, very big jump, which he's holding his own at the moment.
Anyway, Henry will be our youngest so far then in Champions of the Future Esports, because of course we had a driver of 9 years of age a couple of rounds ago. Henry, 8 years old. Amazing to have Henry out on the grid for this run. And giving us a good showing for the moment is Henry. Good to see him out in racing action in a few moments' time. Well, time continuing to tick down here at PF International. There is Henry trying to find a little bit more time. They're in 18th place on the grid at the moment. Fantastic to have so many drivers on the grid for this event, as Elias not having the best time there in the wall on the outside of T1. Hopefully they're able to reset and try and get another lap in, but sadly I think not enough time left for them to do so.
No, but the people who have crossed the line now, that is their last lap. So anyone who crosses the line now, that is the last lap. Or if we've just started the lap, this is their last lap as well. So less than time that all those drivers now are crossing. Isaac Morgan, he's going to go on his last lap now. Rorik, I believe he'll time it as he always does to get one more. And he's always been notoriously very close to the...
Oh, he's coming in.
Oh, he's coming in. So that's I can see why he's coming in, John. He's on a 55.5. So he's 2.5 tenths clear of the next driver, which is the fastest lap we've seen around PF to date.
Yeah, wow.
So very, very, very fast time for Rorik, and he's confident that Alexis might not be able to beat this lap. But let's look as he comes out from the first sector. Yellow sector 1.
It's going to be a challenge to get another 1.5 tenths back after that sector 1, isn't it? But you never know. Crazier things have happened in KartSim Esports. But yeah, what a final lap then from Warwick Milam. He is laying down the law here at PF International and looking to take yet another pole position. But Genelay wants to steal it straight back off him. Purple middle sector from Alexis Genelay. And Zenin Kasarovic there off on the outside, jumping his way over the tyre wall. Well, here comes Genelay down into the last couple of corners. Could this be it for Genelay? Can he find the time in sector number 3? Genelay, where does he go? It's second place for Alexis Genelay. Loses just under 1.5 tenths there in the final sector. When we look on to Timio Rupin, he's had a decent couple of sectors here. It's Timio.
Timio could actually either be P1 or P2 as well, purple sector 2, so we really know that Warwick isn't the strongest in sector 2 out there. It's just his first and second sector that's really a monster, but Timio, 3 tenths off in the last sector, a very respectable P3.
Yeah, good improvement there on the final lap from Timio. Just that final couple of times there from Milam and Genelay just sent them nicely clear of the rest of the field. That bit of time found from Timio, not quite enough for him to move up the grid. Well, that brings us to a close then for qualifying here at PF International. And Mr. Warwick Milam is back on top. He will line up first on the grid then for this first round of the UK Series. Alexis Genelay, his usual challenger, those two becoming very well acquainted so far in 2026. He lines up alongside Warwick on the front row. Timeo Rupin and Alex Exiki are on row 2, with Joshua Bailey and Edin Kisarovic on row number 3. Jake Flewitt and Theodore Tubal are on row 4, followed by Ellis Beattie and Ethan Miller. They round out the top 10 there on row number 5. Row 6 has Thomas Anthony and Brian Bennerins, and it's James Vout and Victor Gerrison. Good to have Victor on for the first time there on row number 7. Behind them, it's Isaac Morgan and Henry Hales. They're followed by Hayden Taylor and Sawyer Henderson, and then Anson Gao and Harvey Sargison round out the top 20. 20. They're then followed by Lionel, Lawrence Lee, Ishan Divan and Maxim Dorfler. And then also Isaac Jameson. Sorry, Isaac, I nearly missed you there on 23rd place on the grid. Good to have 23 drivers here for the first round of the UK series. And of course, we're all British here at KartSim, so great to be back at UK tracks as well. Some of the European and of course international series tracks as well are simply astounding. But UK kart racing just has a special place in our hearts. But PFI has very much a special place in our hearts. What a circuit it is. We've already been treated to a very exciting qualifying session, and drivers couldn't really be much closer in terms of pace if they tried. But as we look through the grid then for this upcoming race, I think the strategy has to be, well, pretty similar to previous races. Try and get past Warwick before the first corner.
If you let Warwick get away, he's that consistent that it's very, very hard to catch him. We've seen Alexis stayed within a second gap pretty much the whole race at points, but it's that first lap. If Alexis can get a good start and not fight with P3 and P4, then that will give him a chance to race against Warwick.
Exactly, yeah, of course. Last time out for round 2 of the Euro series back in Valencia, it was that first lap was really crucial, wasn't it? Because once we settled into pace, Warwick and Alexis were almost identical in terms of lapping, hot lapping around the circuit. But the initial first lap, Warwick had been able to break away, and Alexis had got stuck in a couple of squabbles. So by the time he broke free from the rest of the drivers, he was about 2-3 seconds behind Warwick, and that gap just basically stayed the same for the rest of the race. Warwick didn't crack under the pressure, kept hitting his markers, and took the win.
Well, let's see if it can all change for this one. We're
Indeed.
all on the grid. Warwick Milam in his normal P1 spot. Alexis Genelay right alongside him as we wait for the green lights.
He's got the number 1 on his car, hasn't he? He's there on pole position. Let's see if he can get this one from lights to flag. You see him there just wobbling the steering wheel around, getting himself pumped up and ready to go. But the lights are coming on here at PF International, and we are about to get racing here for round number 1 of the UK series. Lovely start from Genelay. He's on the outside here, and he might just steal the lead from Milam. He does as they head through the first S's and under the bridge for the first time. Genelay defends. Milam goes all the way around the outside though. What a move from Warwick Milam as Bailey and Lixicki make contact. Both of them off into the scenery there at the first corner, and they will drop right to the back of the pack. Well, 2 Bows broken 3 there in 3rd place. Benaren's up to 4th. Lovely start from Victor Gerasim, up to 5th place already.
Well, what a move by Warwick Milam. That's honestly special. That was, he done exactly what he to do. Alexis got that better start initially, got past, but Warwick was like, no, I'm not giving you this lead, let me take it back. And what that's done is it's packed Alexis back into the ones behind him. They've had a bit of a squabble, and unfortunately, I believe it's Alex Lizicki and Joshua Bailey had a tussle into off the grass. But look at the gap now. Warwick Milam has a second. That may just give him the breathing room that he wanted.
Yeah, what a shame. Old rivals coming to blows once more then here at round 1 of the Champions of the Future Esports UK Series with KartSim. What a breakaway from Warwick Milam, as you say. Beautiful manoeuvre there down under the bridge. Exactly what he needed to do there. Didn't get worried that Alexis had got ahead. Planned it beautifully round the outside, and where the drivers behind made contact with Genelay, he got that little bit of a wobble on as they're going 3 wide in the background down into hairpin number 1. As he got that wobble on, lost that bit of time, and now Milam's broken away. Here's the battle for 5th place though. Rupin really leaning there on Hayden Taylor as James Vout tries to go up and under the exit. Keserovic, Gerasim and Morgan trying to get involved as well. So Gerasim's been shuffled back in this squabble as there's a bit more contact there between Keserovic and Taylor. Taylor tries to cover him off there down into the right-hander, and he will do just about, as it's chaos in the background as well. Isaac Morgan now getting involved, and sadly Victor Gerasim has been shuffled back from 5th to 10th in 1 lap, but that's how quickly things can change in KartSim Esports.
Especially after his great start. I mean, he was in prime position there. Now, let's see if they can catch Timo Rupin. You don't want to let Timo Rupin get away, because that top 5 is still a very respectable result. Alex Lizicki and Joshua Bailey have dropped down to 14th and 17th respectively, so that's really made the race harder, but they're going to be pulled back into this pack. You see Joshua Bailey at the very back of this fight, so if he's got the pace, which we know he has, he can really start making his way back up through the pack as Isaac Morgan's get pushed wide slightly by Harvey Sargerson, but Harvey gets back in front.
There seems to be a bit of a Mexican wave of chaos at the moment. It's just sort of flooding back through the field as they then all break away from each other ahead. Then that chaos just goes back and back and back down the grid. And now we see it around the bottom end, just outside of the top 10, really, as that's a nice move there. Up through the right-hander there of the Mike Wilson corner. Gets the move done there. Does Hayden Taylor battling with James Vout. Victor Gerasim trying to go with them now as well. As, of course, he did slip down into 10th place. Fought his way back through at the final corner to get back into 8th. And it seems as though he's now settled in there. I don't want to get too excited, but the gap between Milam and Genelay just went down by 0.3 of a second. Let's keep our eye on that gap on the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen. Milam and Genelay starting to settle into pace now. And if Genelay can catch Milam here and start to get into a bit of a ding-dong battle, Tubal and Benarins have broken away really nicely. And it won't be too long until they're invited into the squabble as well.
Well, Alexis, all he needs to do is get within that sort of 3 tenths overtaking range, and it is possible. He's 8 tenths behind at the moment. That last lap was a 10.5 quicker. But what I just want to notice is with Joshua Bailey and Alex Lazicki, they're really fine. They haven't given up on this race yet. Joshua Bailey up in 12th place and Alex in 15th. So if they can catch Harvey and Ellis in front, then they can really start getting through this pack again and making back up into a respectable P5, P6 position.
It's going to be a struggle, isn't it? Drivers have started to settle into pace order now, but they do still have a good amount of laps here to try and get those positions back. And, of course, more points on the board for their championship season. As we continue on with this one, almost at half race distance. There's a bit of contact there between the back marker, but we'll just be going for a very short break here. We'll be back in a couple of moments' time. Apologies there. That's my fault as a commentator. It's a miscommunication there in the commentary box. We won't be going anywhere. Don't you worry. You're not going to miss any of this racing action here from PF International. Of course, we had that issue with the timing earlier. Suddenly I got worried we had an issue again. But thankfully not. We're fine. Here in the final then. Right, halfway through half race distance. Sadly, Milam and Genelay, that gap seems to have stagnated once again. But good battles further down the order.
That's still under a second. So if we were in Formula 1, it would be DRS range. But Alexis, again, they're both fighting. They're both doing laps very similar to what they're doing in qualifying. Both did a 55.8 on that last lap, which is 2 tenths off the qualifying times, which is not bad in race. Joshua Bailey into the top 10. He is 4 tenths behind Ellis in front.
Indeed, pressing on through this race then. Thank you, Evelyn. Has just sent me someone from the live chat. I know this guy from Rye House Commentary. Hello. Thanks for joining us in the live chat and getting involved with KartSim Esports, so you won't regret it. Very exciting racing here on your screens, and we've got plenty more rounds of the UK series to come throughout this year. So make sure you subscribe to both the KartSim YouTube channel and the Champions of the Future YouTube channel to continue to enjoy this very exciting esports action. Speaking of which, lovely move there up the inside from Joshua Bailey. Watched Ellis Beattie go a little bit wide there through the right-hander and took his chance immediately. Dove up the inside. Lovely room given there between the two racers, but Bailey sneaks on by, and he is back up into the top 10 here with about 5 laps to go. Kesarovic just ahead, Vout just ahead of him as well, so still potential for a couple more positions here for Bailey. As you said earlier, Josh, he's had a great race since that first lap incident.
Well, we sort of expected that with his pace. They really haven't given up. Alexis, I believe, a couple positions behind that, but it's not too far off P6, I'd say. P6 is an achievable result, depending on how many laps there are left. 5 laps left. It's possible. I want to see what Joshua can do, and I'm sure he hasn't given up yet.
Ellis Beattie there off in the wall in the background there, out of the S section. I think has bounced back off and been able to rejoin, but definitely a little bit of time lost there for Ellis Beattie. Have they actually stayed in 10th place? They have, so clearly just a glancing blow. They're able to bounce back on and continue on with this race. Here is your other driver involved in that first lap skirmish under the bridge section. Lexicki picking his way back through the order, as we say. Bailey back into the top 10, and now Lexicki onto the back of Harvey Sargison. You see Isaac Morgan there in 23rd, just ahead of them. Clearly something's happened to Isaac, an incident earlier in this race, or he's cut part of the circuit and has lost a lap because of that. Either way, sadly for Isaac, he's down to the back of the order. Well, time very much increasing now between your two race leaders. We're up over 2 seconds once again, so that brief bit of excitement for us in the commentary box has been extinguished by the lightning pace of Warwick Milan once again.
Yeah, it's very, very hard to compare. 2 seconds of gap now, but there isn't much time between P7 and P10 as Joshua Bailey up into 8th, but fighting with Ellis Beatty actually. Joshua Bailey must have gone wide at some point, or Ellis just must have done a very, very good move. But I thought the gap was quite about a second between them, so I think a Joshua Bailey mistake may have happened.
I think you're right. Yeah, certainly something, because Beatty was in 10th a few moments ago with that glancing blow of the wall, and yeah, Bailey and Keserovic were definitely in front. Where it looks as though that's going to reshuffle around again. It's a little bit wide moment off the bridge there for Bailey. For Beatty, apologies, and Bailey gets through as they then press on down now through to hairpin number 2. As a little bit aggressive there from Eden Keserovic. Shuffles Beatty out of the way there down at hairpin number 2. Either way, Eden is through, but potentially one for the stewards to look at there post-race. But these 4 drivers still nose to tail, and again, that's inviting more into the fray as well. Harvey Sargison and Alex Exicki closing in behind. I think 13th place going with them as well. Well, as we settle into pace order, as we say, to Bal, they're in 3rd, Benaren's there in 4th, Rupen now there in 5th, and all those 3 in a little bit of no man's land at the moment, about a second and a half to a second between each of those 3. So still a bit of time for them to close up, but laps continuing to tick down here at PF International. So really, they've got to find a bit of rocket fuel here over these last couple of laps, try and close up and make up more positions. Actually, now I want to see if this gap is closing down between Genelay and Tubal. Could there be a potential for a second place here for Theodore Tubal?
Well, just to go on to the lap times, Alexis Genelay has set the fastest lap of the race on a 55.742, but Warwick Milam, he can do a 56 and under every lap, and that's where the difference has been. That's where Alexis has dropped off about a second from after the first lap, is where Warwick can just put in that lap after lap after lap. He's not the fastest on track on raw speed. He might be in practice and qualifying, but he can really just make no mistakes, and we haven't seen one mistake from Warwick yet as we go on to the second to last lap.
Indeed we do. Not too much time left to go in this race then, ladies and gentlemen. And as we say, that gap between Milam and Genelay slowly but surely increasing. And once again, Warwick Milam looking to put another win against his name. Tubal and Genelay, that gap remaining about the same, about a second just over between those two as they head through the S's once again. Well, Tubal, he has got his victim in plain sight here, straight ahead of him, almost within touching distance. But as they head through onto the final lap of this race, he's going to need something special here to find second place. Well, there's Wout and Bailey continuing to battle around the outside. Goes Joshua Bailey, and up into 7th place he goes. Again, a great recovery drive here from Bailey, but as they now head on to their final lap of the race, it is a further 5 seconds to Hayden Taylor in 6th place. So I think the lofty heights of 7th are the most that Joshua Bailey will get out of this race. But after being in the wall on that number 1, I think that's pretty impressive.
I mean, it was at 15th at the end of lap 1, so that's a very, very impressive drive back. I believe Alexis is in 12th, so another good drive back from 17th. But yeah, let's go. Last lap, we are going on board with Warwick Milam as he is going to come around the last corner shortly.
He's not too far away, is he? He's done this one beautifully. Yet again, a classic Warwick Milam drive here in KartSim Champions of the Future Esports. Had to weather the storm there through the first couple of corners, but with a beautiful move around the outside, retook the lead of the race, and he never looked back from there. Warwick Milam wins again here in KartSim Champions of the Future Esports, and again, he puts himself at the top of another championship standings table. Genelay comes across the line in 2nd, with Tubal in 3rd, Benaren's 4th, and Rupen not too far behind there in 5th place. Another great race in KartSim Esports, but sadly for the neutrals, another race win for Warwick Milam.
Yeah, but I think after that move in under the bridge, I think it was a very, very worthwhile victory. That move just shows his dedication, how strong he wants to win these races, because he didn't give up. He got back in the lead and then he drove away, which is a bit frustrating if you're Alexis, because he almost done all the hard work and then got driven around outside up under. Sorry to be harsh, but it was a very, very good move from Warwick, and maybe Alexis will know now, right, I need to lean on him a little bit more next time.
Can maybe be a bit more aggressive, but yeah, it was beautiful, wasn't it, from Milam? Lovely start from Genelay to cut across and get into the lead before they even got under the bridge. But yeah, Milam, that just showed his experience, his confidence here in KartSim Champions of the Future Esports to not get worried. It's right round the outside he went, late on the brakes, retook the lead, and as we say, he never looked back from there. Milam wins again here in KartSim Champions of the Future Esports to kick off the UK series provisionally. He leads the championship. Genelay in second place with 2 Bal in third. Benarance Rupin, your top 5. They were followed by Hayden Saylor. Joshua Bailey, good recovery drive from him there in P7, followed by James Val. Edin Kesarovic and Ellis Beattie were your top 10. And then looking further down the order, Harvey Sargison, Alex Zicki, Thomas Anthony, Anson Gao, Ethan Miller, Henry Hayes, Isaac Jameson, Sawyer Henderson, Victor Gerasim and Lawrence Lee. A shame there for Victor, dropping down to P19 after what was a cracking start. Then followed by Lionel, Maxine Dorfler and Isaac Morgan, rather that your 23 drivers making it to the checkered flag in that one. Yet again, another brilliant KartSim Champions of the Future Esports race in the books. Make sure that you join us then for the next UK series race, which will be round 2 at Larkhall on the 3rd of June. But the next KartSim Champions of the Future Esports, you've got to be excited. 13th of May, round 2 of the International Series at Thessaloniki, Circuit 27 in Thessaloniki, that one is. So make sure you join us for that one in a couple of weeks' time. But from myself, John Ratcliffe, from him, Josh Irfin here in the commentary box, and for everyone here at KartSim, thank you so much for watching the esports racing action this evening. I hope we do see you at the next one. But from us, for